and welcome back to Board Game Dads, the podcast slash videocast, episode November 2022.
We're going to have to start figuring out which number these are.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
I think we started in March. Whatever. Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out in the next one. Anyway,
my name is Anthony.
My name is Eric.
And we're the Board Game Dads. If this is your first time joining us, an extra special welcome to you. A little bit of a rundown of the way this show works. We kick things off by talking a little bit about what happened last month, and then we talk about the last 3 games that each of us have played, followed by a little bit of board game poetic interludes.
Love the poetry.
And then we'll highlight some November days of note, holidays, etc., and look a little bit at the Board Game Geek hotness currently as of this recording, which is November 1st. So would have been last night.
Right. But last night was Halloween and we had things to do.
Yeah, it was busy.
Yeah, it was busy. I feel like I am very unprepared for this particular podcast, but we got to get it out early November. So how do you feel about this?
Oh yeah, no, I'm totally not prepared.
Oh, nice.
I just wrote my poetry like a few minutes ago, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, so no, I know that. That's all right though.
So hopefully this is not your first time joining us.
Right. If it is, however, I will say this. I like 2-player games and I prefer a lot of cooperative games. So a lot of the games that are really going to be something that I like talking about are games that I can play with just my wife. It can be competitive, but the co-ops really stand out.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so why don't we kick things off here with the last 3? Are you ready?
Oh, well, why don't we have a little bit of a recap?
Oh, yeah, I skipped that part.
You did. You talked about it earlier.
I did.
So, in this last month of October, tonight would have been Halloween if we recorded this last night, like we already said. However, I had my birthday just last week, and every year for my birthday, I have one of my friends comes down, and we just have a day where we just play a whole bunch of board games. And just me, him, and my wife, and it's great. It's one of the days that I look forward to the most, not just because my birthday, because it's usually on whatever weekend is around it. And that friend happens to be you, Anthony. You're over here.
Oh.
Yes, you're over there.
That's right. That's right. Yes, I did spend.
Sunday.
About 12 hours, right? Total.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good sesh, as they say.
Yeah, we talked about recording something, doing the last 3 intro, and we did none of it.
We did not. We didn't even take a picture.
Games. We played 10 games.
We did play 10 games. 4 of them were cooperative games.
Right.
And the other 6, you won. Or tied.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well.
So, big day for you.
It's my birthday. You guys took it easy on me.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to talk about November now. Everybody thinks of November. They think of one thing, and that's Thanksgiving, the fall season, and everything that goes with it. There's some other stuff, but a lot of November has to do with that. So we talked about the leaves changing color in October. They've changed color, and now they're starting to fall off the trees, at least here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And so this is great. And so hopefully this weekend we're going to have a nice day. We get to go outside and try to catch the leaves as they fall with Zoe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, a little leaf peeping.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
So anyway, back to us hanging out and playing games. Needless to say, our last 3 is technically going to be... I didn't play anything yesterday. Did you?
No.
Okay, so it's going to be 6 of the 10 games we played together. So
right.
It's going to be 6 different ones. We worked it out earlier, but so here's the first one. Show up. I know for the podcast nobody sees the slide, but for the unprepared people and the YouTube viewers, we have slides, and so that helps me know which game we're about to talk about. Right, Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
This is like really I was pretty impressed by this game. Go ahead.
Yeah, this was an awesome game, awesome time. This is a pandemic sort of style game with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you get these little minis, and we played it just the one time. I had a blast. I love the characters. I want to be all of the different characters. All of the variable player powers seemed like they were each good in their own right. Whereas
Yeah,
sometimes you get a
yeah,
game where I don't want to be this guy because his power is terrible. It's not going to work. It's not going to do anything. It's going to come in useful maybe 2 or 3 times.
right.
But in this game, it seemed like everybody that we had, everybody that we maybe even looked at, I don't even know if I looked at the other two powers, but they were all good. Great. That's
Yeah, yeah,
that's definitely a bonus.
for sure. And there's a lot of villains you can play against as well, which
I
is
think there's
interesting.
3 or 4.
I think there's 4 or 5,
It's
maybe.
so it's spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I think there's Maul before he becomes Darth Maul. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct.
I think Grievous is one.
Yes.
Count Dooku
Okay.
and Asajj Ventress, who's we played with. That's in the rule book. It's going to say, for your first game, we suggest Asajj Ventress, who was not in any of the movies except for possibly the Clone Wars, but she was definitely in the Clone Wars cartoon series or animated series,
Hmm, hmm.
and it's fun. There's you fighting against the villain, so the villain has their deck, so you do your turn. And then it's the villain's turn. The villain turn, has a card that's going to move them or whatever, and maybe attack, and then you flip over the card just like Pandemic or 2 cards, and then you put out droids as if they are disease cubes, and you put them in whatever planets are showing up. And so that whole system of, every once in a while you're going to take these cards, shuffle them back together, put them on the top, and then if 3 or more droids are somewhere, then you
Hmm.
add a blockade. And that's the whole kind of Pandemic thing. Everything else is a little bit different and awesome. Again, I only played this game once, and it was with my wife and my best friend, so like obviously I'm going to have a good experience playing this game. All right, so the next game I think is The Spill. Is that
Yeah,
right?
another co-op. Yup.
All right. So this one was designed by Andy Kim and published by Smirk and Dagger. It just came out this year, and it plays in about an hour, and it plays 1 to 4. This is a cooperative game with action point allowance. So I'm all ears. Like this is my kind of game. I love that cooperative action point allowance. This is basically another Pandemic type game.
Sure.
Just because the I know Rado likes to call it like putting out fires, right? Where you're running around and you have to, clean up a mess over here, and
Hmm.
then you have to on the next turn, you got to come over here and you got to clean up this mess over here. All the while you're trying to complete this one main objective, and I think it works great. Everybody does it a little bit differently. I'm not sick of it, and so this game does it and does it well. Well, you've played this a few times. This is your game because you actually brought this down because you thought we would like this, and you were right.
Yeah, I mean it's
Um,
it's definitely a unique theme for sure.
Yeah, and it's got that like big 3D dice tower oil rig thing where you
Yeah.
drop the dice and it goes into the 4 quadrants that you know where to put them out on the board.
Yep, yep. Yeah, it's got a cool table presence for
Yeah,
sure. The interesting thing about this is no matter how many players you play with, you're always going to play with 4 characters, which can be, depending on your player count. Some people don't like that kind of thing.
right,
So if you only play this with two, you're each going to be controlling 2 specialists. In our case of 3, it was kind of like one person was, you know, just a part of the team. I mean, I think you were manning their player board, but overall, it's a group kind of effort.
right. Sometimes when we do play games like Pandemic, we will play with a third player and kind of share them.
Hmm.
It just seems like, especially with the player powers, to kind of spread out around the world or, whatever style game you're playing. It does sometimes help to play with the third. We don't do it with most of the games, but I think in both of the Pandemic legacies that we've played
Hmm.
or played halfway through, we have a third player. The first game we had our dog. The second game we have our cat.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, this one's really fun. You're basically saving marine life from an oil spill. There's different kinds of sea creatures out on the board. The other cool thing about this is there's a couple of ways to adjust the difficulty of the game. So right off the bat, you'll choose a level one, two, or three for your win conditions, and even in that aspect, there's three, at least in the card that we played. There's three different win conditions. You have to meet all three of them to beat the game. In addition to that, on the like situation board where you collect the animals and try to take out the oil, there's also three different tracks that you can use to mitigate or increase how much oil is being spilled each turn. So there's a lot of combinations of difficulty to change in this game, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's, something that you don't see that often. You see it, in games where there's different difficulty levels, but the fact that you could still play like the level 1, so to speak, objectives, but make it slightly harder by increasing that oil part of the board, you can kind of really take baby steps to get to the difficult stuff if you want.
Another thing I want to say about this game is that each turn you're dropping on average 3 or 4 dice.
Mhm.
Now you get 4 actions. It is impossible to get all these dice off the board, and so you just have to get I guess I went into it thinking, all right, well, let's clean up all this oil, get it all, and then we'll save the animals. One person or two people would just kind of work on the oil, and there's just no stopping the oil unless everybody uses all of their actions and everything just to push oil back
Right.
and cure some or get rid of some. It's just not going to happen. See, you gotta kind of balance the removing the oil,
Yeah.
pushing the oil dice back into the bag, or removing them from the game, which is a possibly, I guess, a end game condition, right? Because those change each game.
Yeah, I think ours was remove 10,
Right.
10 oil dice, and yeah, there's other ones that are a little bit different.
Yeah. But it was
Um,
it was fun. There was a few things going on. I didn't. I guess because I only had the one play of it, I didn't know how it was going to be. It was like, all right, well, I have this character who takes 2 actions to remove an oil die instead of 3. So I'm
right.
just going to go around and do that because that's something that we have to do to win. And all the oil came out on the other end of the board. It's just
Yeah.
like I can't get there. Like I'm over here just like saving a couple cubes, and you guys are going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good balanced game. It kind of we lost a few animals like really quickly,
Yeah.
and then we sort of turned the tide and pulled it out in the end. So it was exciting. It was a good play.
Yep.
All
All
right,
right.
what's
What's
next?
next?
Oh, jinx. It's horrified. Another co-op.
American Monsters.
Yes, sir.
Horrified. We've definitely talked about this one in the past. We play it every Halloween. We play this game when it's not Halloween. It's
Hmm.
just that good of a game.
Hmm.
Uh, Only recently, I'd say the last maybe 3 or 4 times that we've played this game, have me and Melissa now been consistently using 3 monsters to play against. Because we played a few times in a row and we just won really easily. I was
Hmm.
like, hmm, let's maybe we should just, and it's super easy, just add another monster.
Yeah.
The one that you understand the best, so that, oh, okay, we understand him. It's not like we have to learn a whole new monster and remember all the different things. And it's a fun one.
Yeah, and this was another one that was touch and go for a while, but we did pull it out in the end.
Yeah,
We played against the Ozark Howler, the Chupacabra, and Mothman.
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 We destroyed the Mothman pretty easily.
Yeah, I really love this game. I love both of the games. I think what I'm so impressed by is the fact that even in this second version, the monsters are different enough. Like they didn't just reskin the win conditions
Right.
on Frankenstein and put it with someone else. Like they're all different. They all use the same mechanics. You have to gather different, types of items of different colors, but they're really, really different. They're really thematic. It was pretty cool. I like this one.
Yeah.
Lot of replayability for sure.
Now, these monsters are a lot more complex than the original horrified monsters.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not a lot more, but some of them are definitely more complex.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of little rules. And when we played against the Ozark Howler, now this didn't really affect our game, but we didn't realize that these death tokens that he was handing out, because we couldn't find it written anywhere. But eventually,
Mhm.
we found out that every time he attacks you, it's an automatic hit,
Right.
and we didn't play with that. He might have attacked once or twice before we killed him.
He didn't move a lot in that game.
No, no, he did not.
He didn't.
But yeah, so that was Horrified American Monsters.
Awesome.
All right, what's next? Oh, it's another Halloween game.
It's another Halloween
Oh
game, and it's
boy,
another co-op. I know you're excited to talk about this
I
one.
can't wait. So this is Hocus Pocus,
Yes, sir.
designed by Prospero Hall and published by Ravensburger. This game came out in 2020, plays in about 30 minutes, and plays from 2 to 6. It's a cooperative pattern building game with limited communication,
Mhm.
and it's not that good.
Mm.
Now so we played this game. It basically, you have these cards, and there's 5 different symbols, 5 different colors,
Mhm.
and cooperatively, and you can't like really talk about what you're doing. All you're really allowed to say is ask a question to the next person
Right.
about, do you have any of this color, or do you have any of this symbol? But otherwise, the cards on the board, you want to put out either all the same color, or all the same symbol, or I don't know what the third one was. The third one was even stupider.
It was
And
one of each symbol of the
was
same
all the
color.
same symbol again, but all different colors.
No, the
As
other way.
All
Whatever,
right,
it doesn't matter.
yeah. Like it could have been one of each symbol, one of each color. That's the third one. Okay, great. That's like another somewhat, simple thing to understand and grasp. They didn't do it like that. But anyway, so everybody's got to put out cards, and you have to get all these cards out, and you want to do it quickly, because at the end of the first round, depending on how many cards you use, you're going to lose a whole bunch of them.
Mhm,
You're only
mhm.
going to keep like these special cards. So we went through pretty much the entire deck before we were able to finally defeat one of the witches.
Right.
And then, we reshuffle some of the cards. All the ones without special symbols get removed, which was, I think, over half the deck at this point.
Probably.
And then we shuffled the rest up, and then we beat the second one, right?
Mhm. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we
And
got
then we had
through
to
it.
do it one more time, and we didn't, because now we have even less cards.
Yeah.
And I guess it was fun, but I feel like I was on a completely different wavelength than everybody else. And I was just like, oh, we're going for purple. Okay, here's purple. And then you guys were like covering up purple. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what we're doing now. And so everybody's out there kind of doing their own thing, asking these stupid questions that nobody's like following or understanding. It's just like, all right, it's my turn. I don't know. You got any twos? Like,
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the crux of the game, and I get that part. That's going to happen, and that's on purpose. But I agree with you about the questioning thing. It doesn't do much, right? Like
no,
you can ask, and by the way, you get to ask all the players. If you're playing a six-player game and it's your turn, you can ask this question, and all five other people can answer you. Do you
and
have?
one of them might even have all their cards out face up, so everybody knows what they have.
Yes, there is something that lets you do that too. But it's like you ask a question, do you have any purple or whatever? And eh, I guess you don't have that many options with your cards anyway. Like what I mean is the answer that you get from people when I was playing anyway, it didn't really change much
No,
about what I was going to play. Like I only had a couple choices anyway.
right.
So at some point it was like I don't even want to ask a question. Like here's the card I'm playing.
Yeah, it's like, if you're thinking, all right, we're gonna try and all put out toes, then you might as well just say toes, and then just play your card, and then it's the next person's turn. And if they, heard you say toes, then they're like, oh, he wants to put out toes, okay. And then, oh, you tell the next person toes. So like, all right, great, now everybody gets it. We're trying to put out toes, but maybe we don't have enough
You don't have
toes.
any, so all right, then you got to cover something with a different color, and then you're like, oh man.
This game made me not want to watch Hocus Pocus 2 Halloween night. We watched something, else. It's not like we're like, no, we're gonna watch something stupid. I think we watched maybe an episode or two of Stranger Things, because we've been binge watching that again this month, just because
Hmm.
it's creepy-ish. But yeah, not a great game, Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
knew it wasn't going to be a great game, but I didn't think it was going to make everybody upset.
All right,
All right,
on
what's
on
next?
to on to slightly better games. Another Halloween theme here. This is going to be kind of my turn to complain, I think, a little bit.
Oh.
This is Haunt the
Hmm.
House. This is from Kids Table Board Gaming, designed by Josh and Helena Capel or Capel. So this is a Halloween themed card game where you're going to be competing against the other players as these ghosts trying to scare these, I guess, supernatural investigators, right?
Right.
That are going to come out at different rooms in the house.
The different rooms have if you play the card face up, you get like some power. If you
Oh,
play
right,
it,
right.
and then if you play it face down, nobody knows what it is except you, and then you end up forgetting about it by the time it's your next turn anyway. But I guess the premise of the game is to put a bunch of cards face down so that you can now scare this room or scare this ghost hunter and get there. And then on your turn, instead of putting cards down, you say boo, which
Right.
is stupid. And then you point to the one room and you flip up the upside down cards and you see if you got all the different types of scares needed for that ghost hunter. And
Mhm.
if you don't have them, but you have them in your hand, you just play them out and you still win. So it's a pretty simple game, but why don't you take it from here? Because I know you didn't really enjoy this one so much.
Well, I just didn't do very well. I feel like every time I was like 3 or 4 times I was planning on saying boo and someone else said it,
Hmm.
right? So like I
Right.
kept kind of getting my steam taken out from under me, and then it was like, now I got to regroup and try to start over somewhere else. It's not the fault of the game, right? I just personally, I didn't really like have a great experience with it, but
Right.
that's just me. That's not the game's fault. That's the way I
No,
played the game.
look, the game's not that great. That can happen. And the last like time or two that we played, I think we forgot that you can use the cards in your hand.
Mm,
So like if you have three different scares in your hand and they're all being used on they're all one of these ghost adventure or ghost hunters has three of those plus another one, great, put out one of those, maybe somebody else will drop something on there, and now you can after you draw cards on your next turn, you can just yell boo because you have the other half of the cards in your hand now. That's a
right.
big part of the game that we kind of glossed over for a while because we were just playing it incorrectly.
Yeah, and I think it took me a little while to get used to that also.
Right.
So, I think a second play of this I hope anyway, would do a little bit better. But yeah, it was cool. I like the premise and the theme.
You know what's funny is that my wife and I have played this game and we play it and we're like, oh, it's okay. I guess it would be better with more. And then we play with more and it's like, oh, I didn't really like it because I didn't get to get as many of the rooms because everybody else got them. So
Right.
well, maybe it's better at two, but it's not great at two. I don't know. Anyway, is this our final of the last three?
I believe it is. And speaking of two, this is a
Two-player
two-player
only game. This is
only.
Patchwork by Uwe Rosenberg. This game is published by Lookout Games. The original Patchwork came out in 2014. The Halloween edition, I believe, came out 2021.
Mhm.
Game takes about 20-30 minutes, and like we said, only plays two. It's an abstract strategy polyomino tile laying game where you're just trying to fill your grid with different polyomino tiles that you're paying for with both money and time.
Mhm.
And when you spend a certain amount of time, you could get this one piece. Oh, that's real great. Spend, 8, I don't know, minutes, hours, days, whatever, 8 time. And you move your pawn up 8. But now the person that's, 7 or 8 spots behind you, they can now take a bunch of little turns and I'm going to spend 2 and get this. I'm going to spend 3 and get this one and get a bunch more turns and a few extra tiles.
Right, because if you're behind the other player, you continue to go until
Right.
you are no longer behind that person.
And I don't actually know what that mechanism is called, but whatever. It does it. It's Patchwork. I believe this Patchwork is probably, and I have them all, the best looking of all of them because it doesn't use. All right, so they came out with an Americana version, a Christmas version, a Valentine's Day version, a regular version, and this Halloween version. There's also like a doodle and some other stuff. And they all have buttons as like the currency because you're making a quilt or something, but it's so stupid. But in this one, for the Halloween version, they're using eyeballs, which is it just looks great. That's one thing. I think they also might have one or two tiles that are a little bit different in this version, but still, if you look it up
Yeah,
on BGG, it's just a different like skin of regular patchwork. There is no actual listing for this game. It's just regular patchwork,
got it, got
so
it.
it can't
Yeah,
be that different.
I think this one has. I feel like I just saw this in the rule book. I think it's like 10 or even 14 tiles that are different than
Okay.
the previous versions. But yeah, this is a really good looking one for sure.
Yeah, the
If you've
tiles
never
look
played,
better.
yeah, yeah, well, they're still like a pattern, but because it's a Halloween thing, it just you know we like it better.
Yeah.
But if you've never played this game, prepare to have a negative score at some point because at the end of the game you lose 2 points for every square that you did not cover on your quilt. So you really got to get a really good coverage on your board if you want to do well.
Yeah.
But it's as punishing as it is, keep playing it.
I mean, I have like 6 versions of it. We have to play it every holiday now.
That's
You gotta make that money back, or at
right.
least make it earn it.
Well, you know what time it is?
I do.
What
It's
time is it?
poetic interlude number 1.
All right, who's going first and what poem are we doing?
All right, let's do. I don't know. What do you want to do first? I gotta find it. You want me to go first or second?
You go first. I feel like I always go first.
All right. There once was a man from Naboo who liked board games that were brand new. I like cooperative games, the old rebel exclaims, and wants a recommendation from you.
Is this the game we just talked about, the Clone
This is the
Wars?
game we just talked about.
Oh man. All right. All right. I guess
What game is it?
the Clone Wars game.
Okay, I didn't hear you say the
Oh,
answer.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
All right. So this must have left quite an impression.
No, like I told you earlier, I make these I don't wait till we're about to record to make my poems. I'm a professional.
A professional poet.
A professional poet. I write these within a couple of days after recording last month's podcast video.
Eric wakes up in the middle of the night and grabs his notebook. He's like, "This is genius."
So it's just coincidental that we ended up getting the game and playing it in the days before doing actually recording this video. But that's why I chose to do that one first because whatever,
Got
we
it.
just talked about it. All right.
All right. Well, mine is quite the opposite. I feel like yours was super easy and mine is gonna be difficult. But what else is
That's
new?
okay.
Here we go. There once was a man in the sky whose ship set sail real high. He competed against others, but if he had his druthers, he'd collect all the rum and the rye.
Ah, man, a guy flying planes, drinking rum. I have no idea. I give
All right,
up.
let me give you a one
Okay,
word
okay,
clue.
okay.
A one word clue. Pirates.
Yeah, I figured with the rum, but pirates don't fly.
Mm, don't they?
Sea of Clouds.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I don't remember the theme of that game. I just remember it as
Okay.
pirates and cards. All right, so it is time to move on to November. All right, so
Holidays.
yeah, days of recognition and holidays.
Mm,
So the first thing I would like to mention, the first day I would like to mention is November 3rd,
mhm,
which has a few days that it is known for. I
mhm.
did air quotes for on the podcast. So we went with cliche day because it's cliche day. I don't know if it's national or whatever. Now it also happens to be National Men Make Dinner Day, which I mean a lot of men make dinner all the time, so I don't know why that needs to be a day. That's
Mm,
kind of a cliche that men don't make dinner, right?
mhm.
Also, Housewives' Day, right? Because if it's Housewives' Day, men have to make dinner, which is another cliche, I suppose. I know I'm reaching here. And it's also World Sandwich Day. So the one
This
day
is
of
the
the
biggest
year,
reach of all right here.
the one day of the year that men make dinner happens to be Sandwich Day. Like we can't just make a regular meal. Come on. I cook. I could cook pretty good. But yeah, that was a little silly to have all those days as the same day. And I feel like somebody must have done it on purpose.
I was
But
gonna say, I think the cliche day might have come last, right? And that was kind of the reason. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I know one of those days is like the first Thursday in November, so it doesn't always line up like that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
interesting.
But anyway, if it's cliche day, sandwich day, housewives day, National Men Make Dinner Day, then I don't know. Have a sandwich,
What
play
game
some
should
board
you play
games.
though?
What game? I thought about this,
I'm sure you did.
and I was trying to think of a game that we could correlate to all these stupid days, and I didn't think of one. But I, I feel like it's a cliche, and I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but everybody likes to hate on Catan. And just by saying that Catan is not a good game, I feel like that's kind of cliche. I like Catan. I don't own it because it doesn't play two players,
Sure.
but it's a game that I played very early on in my gaming career. And I don't know that I ever won,
Hmm.
but I always enjoyed it. It was always interesting that, hey, it's not my turn anymore, but I'm invested.
Right.
And this game does that on everybody's turn. It's like, all right, do whatever. Okay, you're gonna roll the dice. Oh, come on, gimme, gimme, gimme.
Right.
And that's cool. That's fun. I don't want to take a turn and then be like either feigning interest in what you're doing or be like, okay, I'm gonna go get a snack or something. Like I want to be invested in everybody's turn. I want to be there because something you might do is going to benefit the group in a cooperative game, or is gonna also affect me in possibly a good way.
Mhm, mhm.
And so that would have been my suggestion.
Alright,
All
I like it.
right. So the next day, and we don't have a slide for the YouTube viewers, is daylight savings ends. Right, it's fall behind, so we lose an
Yes.
hour. That sucks. That's all I got. Oh, we did a video for that, right? What
No,
did we
no, no,
do?
no, we don't lose an hour.
Yeah. Fall behind. I think spring ahead, we gain an hour. Like all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock and then boom, hey, now it's 2 o'clock. And then fall behind, I think all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock or it's 2 o'clock and then boom, now it's 1 o'clock.
Right, so you kinda get that hour back. I look at it the opposite way. I
Huh.
go, you know what I mean?
No, I don't. I get confused with this every year. Every year.
Well, there's been lots and lots and lots of talk about getting rid of, this whole process, and,
I've heard.
we'll see if that happens, but, we did do a video for actually, I
We
think we
did
have
both.
2 videos, right? Yeah, we have
I
whatever
think we
one
did
is
real
which.
time games in one of them.
Yes.
And then maybe like time travel for the other one.
Yes, yes,
Like
you
you
are
lose an
correct.
hour of sleep. Oh, let's time travel and talk about games. It made sense at the time. It still
Mhm.
does.
Yeah, yeah, it's still relevant, and you can check that video out by clicking somewhere over here. Alright, what's next?
Um, all right, so now we didn't write this one. We pretty much skipped this one. I'm just gonna bring it up because I know you thought it was ridiculous that I even said it in the first place. November 9th is the anniversary, I guess, of the Montreal screw job.
Mm,
So if you're a WWF or WWE fan and you love either Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart from back in the day, this is when they kind of screwed over Bret Hart and made him lose, even though they told him he was going to win or something.
yes.
Yeah. So we were going to talk about some wrestling games that we've never played, but we skipped that and I just talked about it anyway. All right. So the next day is Veterans Day. Now we've also done a video for Veterans Day. Also, do you pronounce it Veterans Day or Veterans Day?
I try to say Veterans Day,
Okay.
but sometimes I talk too fast.
We all do.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one we have another old video, and we'll have the link up here. And I don't remember what we did. Probably like war games and stuff. I think I talked about Captain America and a bunch of different games for this.
Yeah.
So yep. That's Veterans Day. That's November 11th. All right, so the next day we have is 11/15, and that is America Recycles Day.
Aha.
I like to be green. I like to make sure that people recycle and just bring it to people's attention, stuff like that.
Mm,
I don't own an electric car, like I'm not going crazy with it or anything, but I want my kids to do right by the environment.
mhm.
So we have this game called Ocean Crisis. It was designed by Chen Zhao Chen Zhao Hishane Pujan, and Chi Wai Lin. Designed by Shepherd Kit, released in 2019. Game length is like 30 to 60 minutes or so. It's a cooperative game. It's got, I guess, tile and worker placement, and there's some dice rolling. You're basically, I guess, trying to clean up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Mm.
And then on your turn, you can either clean garbage from the river before it gets into the ocean, or you can, in the middle of the board, there's like a kind of a grid. You can put stuff down in the grid and start making pathways to different skills, or to build some sort of machine that you put in the ocean and it cleans garbage. And it's got a really cool feel. It's a kids game. It's a cooperative game. It's a little difficult for a kids game.
Okay. Can you scale the difficulty in this game?
I don't think so, because we
Mm,
usually on our first play always play on easy, and so it's always been a little bit difficult. We've only probably played it maybe 4 or 5 times in the last 3 years or so,
okay.
but it's got a few little mini expansions where basically you just take some sort of a shark or dolphin or turtle, throw them into the ocean, and then you got to keep the garbage away from the shark. You got to, the shark's going to eat garbage, or the turtle's going to get stuck in garbage, and you got to do something else to help them. And every time we're like, oh, let's play with one of these, we're like, no, like we can't even we can't even win the regular game that easily. Like like we'll just keep the garbage out of there. If that shark's gonna eat garbage, that's on him. But it's a fun game. Everything in this game came in like paper bags, and it's all wooden. There's no plastic in the game. It was
Right, right,
probably
right.
shrink wrapped, but I feel like you have to do that.
Well, yes. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
stuff that you can't really get away from, but
I mean, some of those games, they take like the four circular stickers and just kind of tape the four corners
mm,
or the four sides.
those are really hard to get off, though.
I hate that.
I feel like all the games
Ugh.
at Target have those.
A lot of them have that. It's
Yeah.
horrible because then you peel them off, either remove some of the print from the box, or it's sticky for the rest of your life. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was America Recycles Day. And let's see, our next day is November 18th, and this is National Princess Day.
Oh, so pretty.
Yeah, so anybody out there that has a daughter knows that princesses are pretty popular with the young folk. There's a couple games I could have talked about. I wanted to talk about Unicornus Knights. Now, this game is designed by Saiji Kanai and Kuro. That's it, just Kuro. I don't know if that's first, last name, no idea. And published by AEG. Came out in 2016. It's about an hour to an hour and a half, and it plays 2 to 6. This is a cooperative game. The princess is, I guess, full disclosure, I've never played this game. I own it. We'll get to that in a minute. But the princess, I guess, is a little bullheaded, and she just wants to rush to the other end of the board and get beat up somebody for some reason, and you have to kind of guide her, be like, no, 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 we have to go this way, or we're going to have a real tough fight over here, and so you have to sort of guide her to go to different tiles, and then I guess minimize the damage or the people before she actually gets there,
Hmm.
and then safely lead her all the way over here so that she can beat up somebody. Sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
cool concept.
yeah, the one experience I've had with this game is that my wife set it up and learned it while I was at work. I came home, we were about to play it, and she was visibly upset by the fact that she set up the whole game, read the whole rule book. I think she even watched the Rado video and had no idea what was going on in this game. She's like,
Oh.
I don't understand this at all. Like I set up the game, it's just this rule book is so stupid. And so he was just like, all right, you know what? Don't worry. Let's not freak out. Let's pack it up and play something easier. And that's what we did. So we haven't gotten this one back to the table. This is going to be on my bucket list for 2023.
Yeah, you might have to take the reins on this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to. I want to get this one played. Even if we just play it one time and we're like, oh, the rule book is garbage and the game is if not stupid. Whatever. At least we played it.
Right.
We donate it to some board game library. Let some other sucker take it home for a month. All right. So next up is November 19th, which is National Play Monopoly Day.
Yikes.
Yeah. So Monopoly came out in, I don't know, 19 something, 1940,
30 something?
30,
Yeah, I think 30
35.
something.
35 sounds like a good year. 1935, we'll say that. Monopoly came out in 1935. It was published by Parker Brothers, probably. I didn't write any of this down. Ill prepared, like we said. It plays in, I don't know, depending if you play by the rules, maybe like 4
Well,
hours.
yeah.
You could be a shoe or a thimble, a whole bunch of totally relevant pieces, game pieces in this game. Oh, there is a doggy, though, and a top hat, because
Mhm.
everybody wears top hats. And it's an economic city building roll and move game. It's, I guess you could say it's got like area influence, right? Because if you have the boardwalk and somebody lands there, that's your area. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
I
like roll and move. I don't really like economic. I'm not a huge fan of city building. I do have some city building games. Some of them are good. And same thing with area and influence and majority. It's just not my cup of tea.
hmm,
I don't really have a lot of games that I would say kind of fit this model just because it's economic is like a main part, and I don't have a lot of economic games.
sure.
So, if you want to play something on Play Monopoly Day, play Monopoly.
Yeah, or the, 1 million variations that are out there.
Right.
And you can get your hometown opoly or any kind of animal you can possibly think of or any kind of IP that's ever been created
Yeah.
is somewhere a version of Monopoly.
I
I mean,
I
there's a couple that
googled
have come out that I didn't even think were real. I thought they were like a joke, and they're totally legit.
I looked up Monopoly on Board Game Geek website, and I scrolled all the way down to the last one, and then I saw there was like 15 other pages. I was like, okay, I'm not scrolling through all of these to find a picture of like a cool one. Like I know there's a Marvel one. I had it. I think it's got like a little Ghost Rider mini, which is cool, but it's still just Monopoly.
Yeah, I have the Beatles one
Yeah,
somewhere. But, yeah, I mean, look, odds are you've played the game before.
and you
Uh,
probably didn't hate it the first few times you played it because it's
yeah,
fun, ish.
ish.
And once you learn what you're doing, all you want is, oh man, I got to get Boardwalk. But don't once you really know it, then you're like, oh man, I got to get like Marvin Garden. I got to get the yellow and the green. Oh, that little corner over there, because that's where the money is. If you can get that corner,
I think my favorite part of Monopoly is the, pull off tab game at McDonald's.
that's true. That is true.
Alright, moving on.
All right. November 22nd. This is a good one.
Yes.
This is the day in 1995 that Toy Story was first released in theaters. Now, Toy Story was the first movie that was 100% completely computer generated. So, a couple games we're going to talk about. Toy Story Obstacles and Adventures. This game is designed by Prospero Hall and Kami Mandel, published by the OP, released in 2019, plays in 45 minutes or 90 minutes, depending on player count, which is 2 to 5.
Mhm.
This is a re-implementation of Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. So if
Right.
you've played that deck building game, this is the same thing. Very similar to all deck building games, I guess, like Legendary, although that's got much more of a setup. The DC deck building game, stuff like that.
Mhm.
It fits. It's if you like Toy Story and you like deck building games, and you got somewhat young kids. I forget the age range on this one, but they're gonna like this one. It's fun. Now, also, I wanted to mention Keyforge. I've never played Keyforge, but because Keyforge has, so it's a card game, and you buy a deck, and then you play the game with that deck. You can't mix the deck up with another deck. Every single deck that they make for this game is unique,
Hmm.
has specific whatever cards, a name, and nobody on earth will have the exact same deck as you. It's the first game that like all the decks for are completely computer generated. So I thought that was interesting enough that I thought we could fit it in talking about Toy Story. Have you played Keyforge?
I have not. I have
Doesn't
not.
seem like my type of game, but I got to give it credit because that's a cool concept what they did, having all
Yeah,
the
there was
different decks.
yeah, when it first came out, I remember it was like everybody was basically posting the name of their deck because the name of the deck is even unique. It's
Right.
got this weird like combination of stuff. But yeah, the Toy Story thing. I mean, if you like you said, if your kids are a fan of this, and with the Harry Potter one too, our friend Ryan Billingsley, who's been on the channel a couple times, in fact, will be on. Uh, Actually, by the time you guys see this or hear this, he'll have been on the channel again. Anyway, he did a
Nice.
whole thing with his wife and kids where they watched all the Harry Potter movies. Well, they read the books first. They would read a book, watch a movie, and then play that chapter of the game. And they made like a whole, campaign out of that whole thing. And I think you could do something very similar with the Toy Story scene, as though there's what, four movies, I guess, maybe more. No, there's four.
There's four movies. There's a bunch of like little minis and
Yeah, yeah,
shorts and things like that. But I love Toy Story.
yeah. It's a good time.
All right, 2 more days. Really, one more day. Thanksgiving. It's on
Ah,
November 24th this year. It's the third Thursday, the fourth. I don't know. The last Thursday every year of November is Thanksgiving. So for me, Thanksgiving is awesome. I don't have to work that day. I don't have to work on Friday either. It's a 4-day weekend, and I wake up and I get to watch the parade. I get to see all the floats, which I love. It's one of my favorite parts of Thanksgiving
mhm.
is watching the floats in the parade. And then the Lions, they play every year on Thanksgiving. They usually lose, but every year, at least for the first 20 minutes of the game, I am hopeful. And then you eat a big meal with some family somewhere, or you have all the family over at your house, and you have a very stressful day. But still, at the end of the day, you got to hang out with a bunch of people, make a huge meal, and it's fun. It's a nice family holiday.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. And we host here at our house. We have been for a few years, so it's cool that it's like our holiday. We got our
Nice.
family comes over for that one, and it is definitely stressful. There's been some tears on Thanksgiving, but it's a good time, and I feel bad for Thanksgiving because I feel like it gets glossed over sometimes. Right after Halloween. I mean, already today in the car there were a couple stations that were already playing Christmas music.
Well, hey, I mean, Thanksgiving, I think originally, wasn't it everybody was given off of work so that they could go holiday shopping or something like that?
Maybe.
I thought that had something to do with it. I could be wrong, but like I feel like ever since Thanksgiving has been, like a nationally government recognized holiday, has had something to do with Christmas. And not just because Santa Claus shows up at the end of the parade,
That's true.
but he does, which is awesome. But yeah, Thanksgiving, man, it never used to be, but I guess now that I'm an adult, it's one of my three or four favorite holidays of the year. And clearly we love holidays. That's what this podcast is all about. Like I got my gravy all over shirt on over here. Got this in Hawaii at the Rainbow Drive-In or Drive-Through.
Cool.
Yeah. So Thanksgiving, there's usually not a lot of time to play games because if you host afterwards, you just want to sleep, and if you go to somebody's house and then afterwards you still want to sleep, but then you got to drive, or you're at somebody else's house and maybe the table's got gravy and stuff all over it. You don't want to pull out a nice game and get it to the table. So hang out with your family, watch Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, watch one of the most underrated Thanksgiving specials ever is Garfield
Mhm.
Thanksgiving. is great. John has the vet come over, Liz, and he's gonna make her this meal, and he can't cook. And then he has grandma come over and make this meal, and then yeah, it's a good one.
What a cliche.
Yeah, true. But hey, there are some people that just can't cook. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
if he's male or she's female. But yeah, he can't cook.
And
But
then
grandma can cook.
after Thanksgiving,
After Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, everybody knows as Black Friday,
mhm.
is the most, the busiest, not the most, the busiest day of the year for plumbers. Yep, that's a
Yeah,
fact.
we have, yes, we've done research.
Yep. Everybody's over at one house. They're all using the same sewage system or whatever plumbing system, and 20 people using like grandma's old rickety toilet, gonna have problems. Anyway, so Black Friday is just a day to go shopping after Thanksgiving. I don't know how long it's been a holiday. It's kind of stupid, but I mean, you get some good deals, so it's not that stupid.
Yeah,
So
I think the image that we have of Black Friday, people poured into a store shopping or waiting online and stuff. I feel like that has died down a little bit. I know it still exists,
yeah.
but because of, everything being available at your fingertips on the internet, I feel like that part of that is kind of like lost its luster. I didn't have any luster for me. I was never a big fan of doing that anyway, but
Now, I could be mistaken about this. I might not be old enough to remember, but I recall when I was younger, Tickle Me Elmo came out, and people were just crushing each other, running them over, and I think people got seriously injured, if not died,
oh
just trying
yeah.
to get into the store to buy one of these things. Was that on a Black Friday sale, or was that just every day of December that year?
I don't know. Isn't that what the movie Jingle All the Way is based on?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's on Black Friday. Probably not. That's probably just the entire month of December is trying to get the same thing.
South Park had a really good Black Friday episode.
They always
I
do.
think it might have even been like a two-parter, I think. That was a good one.
All
All
right.
right.
So other than Black Friday and also Cyber Monday, for those of
Sure.
us who don't want to go out and spend time in a store just to save, $20, you can get stuff online. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there'll be
don't.
plenty of board games on sale. That's for sure.
I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I'm not trying to, go wait in a store, and what is hopefully going to be known as the end of the pandemic. But still, it just, they're going to be crying, and that's not happening.
No, not worth it.
All right. Do you know what time it is now?
It's time for another poem.
All right. So it's haiku time.
It is.
Okay. So this is mine.
Yeah.
All right. The tile placement game with expansions and spin offs. This one is the worst.
Oh, this version of this game is the worst? That's what I have to guess? Uh, Carcassonne. Um, the Mayflower one, the New World.
A New World. That is correct.
All
I
right.
was going to
Yeah.
give you a hint and say technically it was pictured earlier.
Mm,
We didn't talk about it though. But yeah, that's it. I wanted
yeah.
to do something a little bit Thanksgiving-y.
I gotcha. I
So,
gotcha.
all right. So, what do you got for me
All
now?
right. Not Thanksgiving at all. Abstract strategy. Like chess, only two players.
Onitama.
It's an odd-shaped box. Yes. Oh man, that's what you get when you write your poem 5 minutes before it's time to record.
That will happen.
There you go.
All right, so now on to the hotness. Every time we
Mhm.
do this, every podcast, we choose 3 games from the hotness and we talk about them. Sometimes we know things about them, sometimes we don't. Let's see what we chose this time.
All right, first up is a game called Woodcraft.
Woodcraft. All right, this one designed by Ross Arnold and Vladimir Suchi, published by Delicious Games. It just came out. This was a hot one at Essen. This was, I think, the most popular game at Essen this year.
Oh, okay.
It's 60 to 120 minutes, and it plays 1 through 4. So I believe this game has some dice rolling and manipulation, and you're sort of using them to maybe as workers, and you're using them to build things. There's contracts that you're trying to fulfill to get a certain amount of, I don't know, money or wood. You're going to be gaining and spending different types of resources. And I think the game in full, it has three sort of mini boards, each doing something. And then everybody gets a player board too. So it's going to take up a little bit of the table. But I
Mhm.
like when they do three player boards instead of just one giant board that takes up the space that it takes up.
Okay.
At least if you have you could put them down the middle of the table or off to the side, and that's cool when they do stuff like that. Um, and I guess the premise is that you're trying to have the best wood workshop,
Okay.
and then you win.
Cool.
I I wasn't really that excited about this game. I honestly I couldn't tell why it was so popular.
Hmm.
It might be the same kind of thing as like Castles of Burgundy, right? I don't know why everybody loves it, but I love it, and when I play it, it just plays great. And this, because you're maybe placing out your dice, it could have sort of that same kind of vibe. Or hey, I
Okay.
can
Yeah.
place this
Yeah.
over here, and I can manipulate it, put it over here. I have a whole bunch of good options, and I guess that's sort of the vibe I'm getting from it. But haven't played it, don't really know anything else, and everything that I do know is basically just speculation.
That's how we roll here at Board Game Dads. We just give give you a little bit of speculation about stuff, not a lot of facts. All right. Next up, I do know this fact about this game. It's cooperative.
Mm. Which one's this?
This is
Oh,
King of Monster Island.
oh, right. This one, oh, this one's designed by Richard Garfield, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then published by Yellow.
Hmm.
I think this one also was hot at Essen. And this is 45 to 60 minutes and plays 1 through 5. I also don't know much about this game.
All I know is that it's a cooperative version of the King of Tokyo, King of New York style game, where apparently there's this monster volcano type thing on this island that is like, bigger and badder than any of the other monsters that are in any of these games.
Well, it's the Dice Tower, right? The big volcano.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think the volcano is a dice tower. You're
Ah,
dropping
all
out
right.
dice, and then wherever they land, then the big monster is going to be walking around to the dice and doing stuff in those
Okay.
areas.
That's cool. So yeah, the monsters from your other games here, they can't fight each other in peace without getting rid of this big guy first. So that's the premise here. Um, I don't know if it has the same like standees or character. Like,
I
are,
think
are
that
we
just
going to see the same monsters in this game?
you're going to see, well, on the box cover, for those of us not watching, I will say that it looks like there is one of those skin flares from Stranger Things. There's maybe a giant robot, and I don't know, something that looks like it's got polar bears for arms and a butterfly wings. I can't really tell, but it's new monsters. There's just there's 3D, or not 3D. There's cardboard cutouts. I
Yeah.
don't think there are any like huge miniatures or anything like that. And you can use the monsters from the King of New York, King of Tokyo, because you're still going to use that main board that tells you your health and your, I don't know, reputation.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I do know that in this one, the difficulty scales, I think, from like 1 to 9. And it's basically if you want to play easy, then you play Monster 1. If you want to play on ridiculously insane hard, play on Monster 9. So you play the game, you play 1, you play 2, and wherever you find that sweet spot of, hey, this is a good difficulty that we can still win most of the time, but not all the time.
What's
For
your
for
ideal?
me,
What's
that
your ideal like win percentage for a co-op game?
my ideal win percentage, it
Yeah.
depends on the game. I don't want to win and be like, yeah, that was easy.
Hmm.
If that happens, then we should have made it a little bit harder. I like to win and be like, that was close, like that came down to the last couple of turns.
Right.
that's if I could do that 100% of the time, then 100%. But it depends. Like I want to feel like this game isn't being handed to me. But there's a very fine line because a lot of these is it's just luck based where the dice going to roll, what numbers are going to be on them, what's going to
Yeah,
happen,
yeah.
and you can just be totally out of the game in like the third round. You're just like, oh, there's supposed to be like 20 rounds, and we're
Right.
going to lose. We either have to restart or burn this game. But yeah, so that is King of Monster Island.
Yep. Yep.
So this last one is a game that we've talked about this. We've talked about this a bunch. We talked about this in one of our recent Kickstarter videos, Spirit Island. So it's
Mm-hmm.
out now on not Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, but the other one. I don't know, Backer Kid or GameFound, something like that. And so it's on the Hotness. I am not 100% certain why it's hot right now. I can only guess that the Target version, called Horizons of Spirit Island, is out already. You can find that in your local Target. It's basically the main game, but the components are all cardboard. So you don't have the explorers, the cities, and the towns all like plastic miniatures. You don't have the plastic blight tokens. You don't have the wooden Dahan. You just have cardboard tokens for everything. And otherwise, it's the same game. However, it's got different spirits that you can play as.
Mm-hmm.
So $30 for a taste of Spirit Island, that is definitely a good deal. And now, on the other hand, this picture on the right for the YouTube viewers, which I keep saying, is Nature Incarnate. This is the newest expansion that's out. This
Mm-hmm.
is out again, not on Kickstarter, on the other one, and it adds more spirits, more cards, more powers, more stuff, and then a few new unique twists to some of the new spirits that adds something like a new token or a new mechanic or something like that. I'm not 100% on exactly what it does, and I'm not backing this one. I my wife and I really love Spirit Island. This is a long game. This game
Mm.
is so this. Oh, I'm sorry. This was designed by Eric Roos and published by Greater Than Games. Came out in 2017, and it plays 1 to 4 from 90 to 120 minutes. That's being generous.
Mm.
A 2-player game is going to be probably about 100 minutes. So a 4-player game it is could take like 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 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 fun, but because of how long it is and how complex it is, we play it 4 or 5 times a year. And when we play it, we still have characters and spirits, that we have not used from the previous expansions. And so it's just not really worth it for us to go out and get this new expansion to have all these new spirits when we still have like another 7, 8 spirit that we've never played as before. And
Right.
that's
Right.
all I really want from an expansion is just more of the main stuff that I'm doing. I don't want new rules and things to remember and different rule books to look through. I just want more of the base stuff.
Yeah. I agree.
So I'm probably gonna get this after it comes out, maybe in like a couple years when I find it at the board game store or something, but can't back it right now.
You can't back it all, folks.
That's true.
I mean, you can, but you'll be broke.
That's true too. Unless you have like a disposable income and then,
Yeah. More power to you.
holla at me.
Anyway, we're getting near the end here. Eric, anything else you want to touch on before we close out our November episode?
Yes, I would like to say happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
I wasn't saying that to you. I was saying that to everybody.
Okay, well, I'm answering for everybody.
Okay.
Anywho, thanks for sticking with us, folks. Remember to check out the YouTube channel if you're not watching that right now. Check it out. We got lots of cool stuff there. Some couple of Kickstarter Day videos. I'll have a couple of more designer debuts in the next few weeks, so check that out as well. And until next time, have a great November, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.
See ya.